Welcome to Hero Club.
I'm Nick Williams.
And I'm George Primavera.
George and I started playing Dungeons & Dragons with our buddies in college, and we haven't stopped since. Even when we lived on opposite coasts, I would Skype in George on the TV in the living room of my apartment,
while I would DM from the floor of my bathroom so as not to wake up my roommate. When I finally came out to Los Angeles, we started playing with our friends right away.
And when we'd inevitably tell other people about the ultimate betrayals and daring heroics that happened in our games, we realized that they were just hearing a jumbled mess instead of the cinematic blockbuster memories that were in our heads. We wanted to show people how fun and immersive D&D can be, especially those who had never played.
And to do that, we record a full game like normal around the table and then painstakingly cut it down from 4 hours to a clean, math-free episode, so you can experience our memories the way we do.
Just like in a real game, nothing is ever written or planned out ahead of time with the players. The only things we add are music and sound effects.
I am the Dungeon Master. I build the world and the framework for an adventure. The players, like Nick, must then journey through the obstacles I set before them, rolling a 20-sided die and adding character-specific bonuses to see if they succeed. If they beat the number I have in my head, then their action is successful. If not, it is a failure, and there may be consequences. We try to follow the rules of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition as close as we can, but as the Dungeon Master, what I say goes, and there are some things I like to do differently.
Each season is its own contained story, so find one that sounds interesting to you and start from the top. And hey,
welcome to the club. We're doing something a little different this season. Our first 4 episodes will be released in reverse chronological order, in the opposite order that they were played in. We hope you enjoy figuring out what the muck is going on.
Town. Ha, ha. On a trawler, slick with squalor, bound in shackles and a collar. A person's felled, a person's held, as they cry out for a messiah, like a spicy jambalaya. A righteous horse rises from the sauce. Is it him, or could it be? Is it him, or may that me? Is the hero of the bayou, hero of the bayou, the salvation is to bayou, that hero from the bad, bad bayou. The fan blades go around and round to take you home. Around and round, the fan blades go around and round to take you home. Around and round, the fan blades go around and round to take you home. Around and round, the fan blades go. He'll make his presence known. Here he comes, he's the hero.
Hero Club presents ClusterMuck. Chapter 1. Once upon a time in Mudtown. We open in deep space. Stars, glittering in their infinite number, speckling a void of unknowable depth. But as we pan down through the nothingness, we suddenly see the magnificent, hazy horizon of the planet Aromatica, or as the Galactic Coalition of Civilizations calls it, Dev Center BB991. A humid, swampy planet with a hefty amount of methane in the upper atmosphere that tints the bright day's sky a sickly yellow and the early evening sky an ethereal green. Most of the planet's surface is covered in thick foliage, mimicking a planet-wide Everglade, with large patches of shallow sea dotting the mostly green planet with amorphous bluish-brown spots. In the middle of one of these muggy 22-hour days, we descend into the atmosphere and scan across the treetops to see a handful of frighteningly tall skyscrapers spearing out of the canopy, easily several thousand floors high. They are connected by an amalgam of sky bridges, with bustling hovercraft darting to different microports within the building system and a transgalactic gateway floating outside the atmosphere above, a swirling blue portal within a circle of steel. This set of skyscrapers is known as Hastings Plaza, a place where the movers and the shakers of this quadrant deal behind closed doors and decide the fate of entire star systems by changing prices and halting access to resources. But to the west, over yet more open treetops, an expansive open marsh, and past a steep rise in elevation, punctuated by a glorious waterfall adorned with pulley systems for water vehicle transport, is Mudtown, a shantytown inhabited by all sorts of people, but mostly consisting of reptilian and insectoid folk, as well as a fair few humans, especially after a Mormon mission made land here several hundred years ago. Docks line the crowded islands that make up Mudtown. Broken down, poorly constructed houses sit wall to wall with pristine GCC representative centers, which sit next to general stores, which sit next to banks, which sit next to houses of worship for the Church of Latter-day Saints. Latter spelled Ladder. A true hodgepodge. It is outside the well-kept Hastings Bank, a sleek building with gray walls and blast shielding on every window, that we find a nervous, pacing figure adorned in clothing with a logo that reads, "Keepin' it real. We're your #1 fan boats," working up the courage to head inside.
Delilah McGurk fidgets with the uncomfortably clean set of Keepin' It Real overalls. She's green-skinned and perpetually wet, living between land and swamp. Her fingers and toes are webbed, and her broad torso and sinewy legs give her slimy green body a very athletic, strong look. And her grease-spotted hair is slicked back into a small spark plug of a ponytail. Her black boots, with slightly less mud on them than usual, buzz with electricity.
We would be a pillar in the community once again, just like our all-sainted brother, Dirk McGurk. May he rest in peace. In conclusion, if you were to give us this here loan, that we might be able to rebuild our business and help the community, it would sure be nice. No, that ain't it. It would sure. Oh, Delilah, what have you gotten yourself into?
In the middle of this miniature breakdown, the automatic doors suddenly open smoothly, and standing in front of you is a human fellow with slick blonde hair, a sharp, tight-featured business suit of dark royal purple and white, and a toothpick fit neatly behind his ear.
Why, Miss McGurk. Delilah, isn't it? Lovely to meet you. My name's Wayne.
Delilah whips around and slaps a slimy green hand into Wayne's.
That's me. Sure is a pleasure, Mr. Wayne.
Oh, my, that is wet.
Yes, sir.
He subtly wipes his hand on his pants.
Miss Delilah, won't you please come inside?
Yes, I'd be glad to, sir. Just I'll follow you in.
Immediately, the air conditioning hits you, causing your pores to tighten up uncomfortably.
Awful chilly in here.
Little cold for you? We'll see if we can't get that adjusted. You know us Terrans, we like it mighty chilly.
Yeah, just sort of feeling my face freezing up a bit.
Right, well, why don't you just wait up on in here for me?
Along the cold gray slab walls of the bank, there are various windows of blast-resistant glass, with tellers behind them, though at present there are no lines. But you're not here for a simple transaction. You're here for a meeting. Wayne brings you over to his office, opens the door with a keypad lock.
Right this way?
Well, thank you.
And Delilah shuffles in and takes a seat.
All right, Delilah. Shall we get to business?
Pardon me, Mr. Ether.
I'm so sorry, Delilah. My assistant's being rude. What is it?
Your afternoon appointment has arrived ahead of schedule.
What? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Go get the room ready for him. Delilah, I am so sorry about this. I will need just a few moments to take care of something. A client of great import has decided to make his presence known a bit earlier than anticipated. I hope you do understand.
All right, I hope you remember that I too am a client of great import.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll just be here.
Delilah, you are left alone. Make a perception check.
21.
You hear footsteps walking down the hallway, as well as some muffled speaking, and then, through a small square window, you see into the hallway. Wayne appears to be talking over his shoulder, turning on his absolute maximum amount of charm. You can see that he has visibly started sweating, and following after Wayne is a tall, dark figure with a hat pulled low down over their face. With a 21 perception check, you see that the figure appears to be an insectoid man, vaguely resembling a mosquito. With a collar turned up, the mosquito pauses directly in front of the blast doors, taking a careful peek inside, and makes eye contact with you with his big, red Ocelli eyes. Roll an insight check.
9.
This moment passes with an odd sort of tension. But then the mosquito moves on, and you are left alone in Wayne Ether's office.
Boy, there's some buggy business going on around these parts. Well, maybe now's as good a time as any to say a quick prayer to Swamp Christ before I get in the meeting. Dear Swamp Christ, please help me be worthy of climbing your ladder. And also, help me be worthy of this loan so that me and Dipper can continue the legacy of our dear departed parents. May they be resting peacefully in your upper lofty area. And also our brother Dirk. Amen.
30 minutes passes.
Delilah sits for a little longer, twiddling her webbed thumbs. And then, unable to stop her curiosity, she gets up and has a look around.
When you go to open the door, you find that you are locked inside.
What? Hey!
Delilah jiggles the handle and then knocks on the door.
Excuse me! Somebody, could you just open the door here?
You suddenly hear the air conditioning get a little bit more intense and a colder breeze starts blowing on you.
Ooh, I don't know how they do it. I can barely feel my face. Excuse me! Let me out of here! Come on! Anybody?
Nobody comes. Another hour passes.
I see what's going on here. They don't have any respect for us mud folks, and I knew it! Can't wait to tell Dipper about this.
Another hour passes.
That's it. I'm taking matters into my own hands.
Delilah walks to the far corner of the office and turns, facing the door. Her legs start moving. They move faster and faster until you can barely see them as she runs in place, picking up speed. And then, like a bolt of lightning, she bursts through the door, leaving a Delilah-shaped hole in her stead.
A full 1 foot thick panel of blast-resistant steel explodes apart as the fastest girl in Mudtown creates enough friction to burst through any physical surface. Crash out into the hallway.
No wall can keep Delilah McGurk held.
What the hell have you done?
Wayne Ether stands just outside the door with his fingers on the keypad, having been just about to enter.
Oh, well, you kept me in there for hours. You said it was gonna be a couple minutes, and also I noticed you turned down the cool. Could barely move my skin. Doesn't seem like a whole lot of respect for us folk.
Miss McGurk, do you not know where you are? Do you not know how to behave in the presence of a Hastings representative?
What are you doing locking people into places for?
As he begins to answer, from the door to outside comes the mosquito, as if he had already departed and was coming back. Wordlessly, he walks past the pair of you, and he disappears further back into the far side of the hallway. He emerges with something sticking out of his coat. Roll a perception check.
9.
You're not sure what it is, but the mosquito fella catches you staring at it and retracts it back deeper into his trench coat. Glaring at you, he edges past standing about 8 inches taller than you, and makes his way out of the bank once again.
Seeing that this interaction isn't going well, and with a burst of desperation, Delilah turns towards the mosquito.
Excuse me, sir? Excuse me?
The mosquito stops.
You seem like a real respectable fellow. Like you got a lot in charge. And I was just thinking, maybe I could tell you about my plight for us folks down at Keeping It Real in Mudtown, the fan boat company, and well, maybe you could listen to me?
Roll a persuasion check.
13.
The mosquito's head turns lightly over his left shoulder as if he's considering it, but then he checks one of his many watches on one arm, all synced to different times, and wordlessly leaves.
Well, okay, well, maybe next time then, sir. Thanks for, nothing.
Miss McGurk, why were you here in the first place? I forgot.
I need a loan. Don't you get it?
Well, consider yourself categorically denied. Now remove yourself from my bank.
Well, you can't do that. You haven't even heard my speech yet.
I'll tell you what, I'll listen to your speech when you bring me 5,000 credits to replace this door. Now go on, get before I activate the sentries.
Sir, you all got so many credits you don't even know what to do with them. I come on hard times. I don't know what I'll do if I have to go home and tell Dipper that my running through the door failed us. Can't you just hear me out?
Wayne, having turned to walk away, snorts, his charm having worn.
I'd tell you to cry me a river, Miss McGurk, but there's plenty of water on this planet to go around, so it'd be worthless. Have a good one.
Delilah seethes as she watches Wayne walk past her into his office and shut the door. And then suddenly she starts coughing. She hangs her head and reaches into her pocket, pulling out her flip phone, and dials the one number that's in there, Dipper.
We cut all the way back to those immense skyscrapers, but below the tree line, at the base of them. Hastings Plaza, a bustling place of commerce. In a fan boat that is parked outside the Hastings elevator building, the hub building that leads to all the others via a massive, secure central elevator system, we see Dipper McGurk.
Dipper McGurk sits at the back of the fan boat in a clearly heavily modified scrap metal wheelchair. His Keeping It Real branded coveralls are cut off at both shoulders to reveal his wiry, slippery green arms. The pants of his coveralls hang loose past the knees over 2 mossy peg legs. He wears an absolutely destroyed Keeping It Real trucker hat, wrap-around orange sunglasses, and his entire body, from his lime green combed back mohawk to his thick horseshoe mustache to his coveralls, is all heavily stained with motor grease. He absent-mindedly throws a rubber chew toy to the end of the boat where a large, rusty scrap metal alligator, Scraps, is sitting with his tail wagging. Scraps catches the chew toy and excitedly hops back to Dipper, dropping it at the base of his chair.
Good boy, Scraps. Ain't you just a good boy? Yes, sir. You're the bestest boy in this whole swamp. You ready for a long one? Go on, go get it. Go get it.
Dipper chucks the chew toy farther out into the water.
Ahead of Dipper, at the busy dock, a hairy insectoid fella, resembling a rotund flea, has just handed the keys to a rental fan boat to a trio of fancily dressed soldiers. Another sail, stolen from Keeping It Real. As the fan boat pulls away, the flea man struts over to Dipper.
Looks like I snaked another one out from under you, Dipper.
You dirty bog wolf biter. My parents tolerated you when they were running Keeping It Real. But under new management, I swear we will take you down into the bottom of the bog.
Oh, please. You're gonna beg me to buy that shithole by the time I formalize my monopoly on the fanboat business in Mudtown. It's just the corporate way, Dipper. Bigger fish eat smaller fish.
Dipper puts 2 slimy fingers in his mouth and whistles loudly. And from behind the flea, out of the water, explodes Scraps.
Oh, my swamp Christ!
Scraps, what do you have to tell the nice man?
Scraps opens his mouth wide and a recording of Dipper's voice emanates from it.
We're Welcome to Keeping It Real. We're your #1 fan boats.
Yeah. You keep singing that tired old song. The era of keeping it real is over, and now is the time of fan boat-tastic.
Dipper wheels up a side ramp on the boat and right up to the flea.
The day that I let Fanboat-tastic take our spot as the rightful top fanboat repair and fish tour company in Mudtown is the day I join my dead ma and pa in that swamp graveyard.
Dipper spins the wheelchair and a jet of grease releases from the back, just in time for Scraps to shove the flea.
Whoa! The flea almost falls into the grease, but steadies himself, removing himself from the slippery patch of dock.
Wake up and smell the methane, McGurk. I already took your #1 spot. I heard you can't even pay next month's rent.
Well, I'll have you know that my sister Delilah is securing us a top-notch bank loan right now as we speak.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going well. You have a good one, Dipper. And by the way, next time you come to me with an offer to sell, my offer's half. Fanboat-tastic!
And Benny, the owner of Fanboat-tastic, walks away jauntily to a much nicer looking fanboat.
Dipper wheels over to Scraps and pets his junky head.
There, boy. The bad man is gone. Don't you worry none about what he said. We're gonna be back on top sooner than you can say teeth toad.
Oil change initiated.
A compartment directly where an alligator's anus would be opens up, and a bunch of black liquid spews out onto the airboat, along with a porcelain toilet seat.
Swamp Christ, damn it! I told you to stay out of the junk pile.
Dipper, your phone begins to ring.
That must be Delilah now. Dipper whips it off of a holster on his belt and flips it open.
Keeping it real, we're your #1 fanboats.
It's me, Dipper.
Delilah, how'd it go? Did you get that loan? Don't tell me. Did they go for the premium tier or the extra premium silver tier?
Listen, Dipper. You see, well, it just... First of all, they kept me in this room where it's real cold for hours and they never said nothing to me, and then it was locked and I thought they was trying to kill me, so I burst out of the door. You know how I get sometimes needing to just get out, and then there was a mosquito feller, and then there was this man, Mr. Ether Wayne, and he yelled at me for breaking it, said something about 5,000 credits and said I was categorically denied. I failed you, Dipper.
No, hey, don't you get your boots in a bunch. Just meet me out front of the bank and I'll pick you up.
I don't know if I can show you my face, Dipper.
That's all right, Delilah. We're gonna be fine.
Yeah, I'll make this right. I promise you, Dipper. I promise you. I'll see you soon.
All right, I'll see you soon.
Dipper begins to take off back towards Mudtown. Dipper gazes out onto the expansive open marsh, taking the long way around, sheltered by trees on either side of a swampy bank. After a couple hours, the roar of the Aroma Falls draws near, and Dipper and Scraps float their way onto a water-bearing platform and are then pulled via the pulley system up the height of the waterfall and are deposited at the top. The fan on the back of the boat kicks back on, and Dipper tears across Mudtown until he reaches Hastings Bank, where Delilah sits waiting for him sadly on a dock. By now, it is late afternoon.
As he begins to pull up, Dipper takes a deep breath and puts on his biggest smile.
I have a fanboat ride for the fastest girl in Mudtown.
Oh, Dipper, don't be nice to me. It's making it worse.
Get on in here, beanhead.
Think I should go kill him? Maybe that'll work. Or just threaten him or something. You think they got that money stashed away in that cold house?
Now, Delilah, that ain't us. That ain't the McGurk way. What would Dirk say if he were here right now? He'd tell you to chin up and just keep running.
I guess that's true, but sure as the rungs of our holy ladder, he also wouldn't be too proud if we lost the fanboat business. Maybe we ought to call Papa Roach. you know? Or maybe I should do it on my own. That I could do. You know, I can't do all this smart talking, but I could run a job.
Anything we do together. As the McGurk Twins, I ain't gonna let you run off and do some dangerous crime job just on your lonesome on my account. And I have faith that sweet, slick baby Swamp Christ will provide. He is slippery and he is just. And as his loyal followers, we will be provided for and be ushered up into that second story of glory.
Dipper, make a religion check with advantage.
17.
You finish this prayer directly outside the walls of a church of Latter-day Saints, home of Swamp Christ. The ladder sigil hanging above the entryway catches the methane in a special way today. And as you and Delilah stare at it in admiration, sadly turning back to your route home, suddenly your phone rings.
Hold that thought, sir. Dipper flips the phone open.
Keeping it real, we're your #1 fan boats. This is Dipper
See your fucking face again until you find it and get it back to me, you pissant motherfucker. I swear to God, you will sit under my boot until you turn blue, you sick son. Hello? You there? Hello?
Hello?
Dipper, my old friend. It's Papa Roach.
Dipper covers the receiver. It's Papa Roach.
Delilah slowly turns her head back to the ladder.
You sure have a funny way of doing things.
Yes, Mr. Roach, sir. What do I have the honor of speaking to you about, sir, today?
Are you sitting down right now?
Dipper quickly glances down to his wheelchair. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Cause this is your lucky day. I have a job for you, my friend.
Hold 1 second, Mr. Roach.
Of course, yeah.
He says he has a job for us.
Well, let's hear what he's got to say.
And Delilah smushes her head up against Dipper so that they can both hear into the phone.
Do you like the taste of that? Cause that's what boot tastes like, you little shit. That's what my boot tastes like. Eat it, you son of a bitch.
Mr. Roach?
Sorry, are you back with me? I got you. All right. I have a job for you. It's gonna blow your socks right off your feet.
Dipper's eyes linger briefly on his 2 peg legs. Well, what do you got for us?
There's a package that I was trying to get delivered. Went through the Valdivia Premier CRiS, but God, those big kinds of companies are just so unreliable. You can't depend on them for nothing.
That's what we've been saying this whole time. It's all about mom and pop businesses and big corporations like Fanboat-tastic. They're ruining what's good about Mudtown and for that matter, all of Aromatica for that matter.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. All right, so they got lost out there in the swamps with the package that I need delivered. So I thought my good friends the McGurks could leg it down to the swamps.
Come on.
And go find that little package for me. Now I will say, apparently they went missing in Teeth Toad territory, but those fools went and forgot their sonic repellent, so that's on them.
What? They went into Teeth Toad territory in full Snapdragon season? What are they, nuts?
It's like they ain't never woke up and lived a day.
That must be right, Delilah. That must be what it is. So, what say you? You think you might want to take this job?
Hold just 1 second, Mr. Roach.
Happy to.
Dipper holds the phone as far away from the 2 of them as possible. I mean, do you think?
I think we should do it. Of course we should. We ain't got no more options. But we should ask him for the whole amount.
Think he's gonna go for it?
He's got money up the wazoo, and if he's calling us, means he's desperate. He don't even know you ain't got legs.
That's a good point. We could probably work that. Dipper brings the phone back.
Oh, fucking God. Please, God.
And now I gotta ask these slum fuck do-nothings to go get my goddamn package. So you will sit here, toes up in the air, head on the desk, mouth
Mr. Roach,
You
sir?
back? Are you there?
Mr. Roach, sir, we've discussed it amongst the two of us here, and we've decided that we are not going to be offended by the fact that you don't seem to know that I'm in a wheelchair, and we will take your job.
Well, that's real good to hear.
Here's the one thing, though.
Yeah.
Businesses has, like I mentioned before in my rant, it hasn't been going too good, so we might need payment up front, and we also our fee, sir, is it's 36,000 credits, sir. It's like I said before you get mad. It is teeth toad season and snapdragons are abound. I'm trying to do my best to make it right for me and my sister.
Fuck up. Listen, I hear you, and I do apologize for the wheelchair thing. So, what about this? You go get my package. I'll say 40,000 credits. A little extra for you on the side.
Dipper's arms shoot straight again away from their heads. Oh my god.
40,000 credits?
What did I tell you, Delilah? Swamp Christ provides. He provides for his faithful and loyal followers like us. We make up the greasy, mud-caked runs of his two glorious poles. Mr. Roach, sir, we'll take your job.
And stay down. Sorry?
We will take your job, sir.
Well, that is quite fine to hear. Frankly, you're making my day. I'm walking on sunshine, and I am immediately sorry for that. One or two little details, all right? Why don't we say, once you get the package secured, you bring it to me and I can pay you in full. And one thing, and I cannot stress this enough, do not, under any circumstances, open that there case, all right? All you gotta do is retrieve it, and you bring it back to me. You open it, and this deal is off.
It's not gonna explode on us, is it, sir? 'Cause we got some past traumas we're still healing from to do with explosions.
Shouldn't be an issue, right? 'Cause you're not gonna open it, right? The only reason it would explode was if you were to open it, but you're not gonna open it.
Well, that's true. That's a good point.
I know, that's...
Thank you, sir. That is a very good point. You're very smart, sir.
If there's one thing we ain't, sir, it's curious.
Ask anybody in Mudtown. We're the least curious twins you ever done met.
Oh, yeah, ask him.
Go ahead.
I'm not gonna do that. I'll just take your word for it, all right?
Lenny, he knows.
Who?
Sir, your next torture murder is on deck.
Listen, I gotta go. You know, some housekeeping on my side of things. You all have a great day now. And if you have any questions, you just give me a call right on back, all right? And just don't forget that sonic repellent, right? Because it is teeth toad territory, and you want to be prepared.
Just remember, if you or anyone in your outfit ever needs a fan boat repair, you just come on.
I swear to God, they came out of nowhere. We never knew they were coming.
Fuck you!
Dipper closes the phone in disbelief.
40,000 credit. Delilah, we're out of the dirt. We did it. I told you he provides.
And you were right, but we still gotta get it, don't we, Dipper? You's always getting ahead of yourself.
That ain't gonna be no thing. All we gotta do is head into that teeth toad territory, be nice and careful like, and find that package. We could do this with our eyes closed.
It's true. Any trouble we come into, I'll get us out of.
And I got my sonic repellent right here. And Dipper puts one proud elbow on a large, junky-looking, scoped hunting rifle. But actually, I do have several cases of sonic repellent underneath the hull.
Did you bring along my oar?
Well, I didn't think we'd be getting into ore business. I left it at the shop. Why don't we head back there, restock up, and then we can head out and find that package.
Good. I need to get out of these unripped overalls anyhow.
Dipper pulls a long drawstring and turns over the fanboat fan.
Everything's coming up McGurk.
We cut to Keepin' It Real, a fanboat repair and fishing shop on the outskirts of Mudtown. Certainly not the most heavily trafficked location. The shop is falling into disrepair and stretches out over the water, propped up on stilts that stick out of the muck. One side of the repair shop is completely open, and a couple of junky-looking fanboats sit idly, bobbing slowly in the placid water.
Dipper expertly pulls the fan boat into one of the open docks in the mechanic's garage, kills the engine, and wheels up onto the dock.
All right, now let's get ready, and I'll meet you back here in 5. Bring everything you got. That snapdragon ain't no joke.
And before Dipper can finish his sentence, Delilah is off like a shot, going so fast you can barely see her enter the shop, which also doubles as their home. Within a minute, she comes back out again in a fully different outfit. This time, her Keeping It Real overalls are shredded at the thighs. She still wears her electrified boots, and her hair is stuck into a Keeping It Real cap. Slung over her shoulder is an oar that's been reinforced with metal on the head, and stuck into her back pocket is a slingshot.
Delilah, make a constitution save.
6.
You begin to hack and cough.
D, are you all right?
Oh, yeah. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just fine. Or I just got a little mud dust in my lung.
Delilah, you look down at the handkerchief you have pulled out to cover your mouth while coughing and see a tiny splotch of dark green.
Delilah tries to hide the handkerchief before Dipper can see it.
Make a sleight of hand check.
10.
Dipper, roll a perception check.
Dirty 20.
D, is there something you're not telling me? Because I wasn't going to mention nothing. I don't mean to pry, but I've noticed you're coughing more than usual, and yesterday I went into your room, and I wasn't trying to peek at nothing. I thought maybe I left my wrench in there, and well, I saw your wastebasket, and it seems like you're coughing up green stuff all over the place, and I just want to make sure you're okay.
You know, it's the funniest thing. I just, I had me this funny roundabout. I fell a couple times, and then I scraped my knee, so I had to mop it up with a bunch of my handkerchiefs. And now they're all stained, so every time I cough into them, it looks like I'm coughing, but I'm really not.
Delilah, roll a deception check.
3.
Dipper, roll an insight check.
12.
All right, well, I'm not saying you're lying, but if it's all right with you, I'd prefer it if we went and saw Dr. Orbiff tomorrow and just got you checked out. It would just help old Dipper out if you could do that. I understand. I'm not trying to meddle none.
Delilah looks down guiltily.
Yeah, okay, Dipper, whatever you say. Let's just do the job first, okay?
Well, we're going to the doctor tomorrow. That's a plan.
Dipper rolls over to a workbench at the far end of the boat shop and begins rummaging through the drawers.
2 cans of sonic repellent.
Better bring 3.
Make that 3.
He tosses them over his shoulder to Delilah.
She catches them and stores them in one of the benches in the boat.
He then slaps down his junky hunter's rifle and opens several clearly welded-on attachment pieces, refilling them with various glowing liquids from vials that he pulls from his toolkit.
All right, I'll get a little bit more of this here corrosive in there. Done. Oh, I almost forgot. I made you some more shot for your slang.
Dipper pulls out a coffee can that has the words "walloping ammo" written on it in marker and tosses that to Delilah as well.
Delilah catches it.
How'd you know I was almost out, Dip? Looks like we're one mind.
I just heard you shooting empties in the back last night.
Oh, right.
Figured you'd run out.
You is smart. Well, come along too, Scraps. You're coming with us.
Scraps, his butt wagging and his metal tongue lolling out to the side, heavily hops into the front of the fan boat, tilting it to one side.
All right, you ready, D?
Let's do it. Wait, quick prayer to Swamp CRiS before we embark on this here journey.
How could I have forgotten? Dipper and Delilah both whip off their greasy hats and clasp hands.
Dear, kind, honorable, soaking wet from the bog, baby Swamp CRiS, we ask you this day to bless our fan boats as we go out in search of honor for our family, hoping to redeem the McGurk name in Mudtown. And I know that you will guide our hands as we set forth on this holiest of missions. Please help guide Mr. Papa Roach back towards your beautiful shining ladder so that he may too ascend. For there is room for even the most lowly of creatures in your promised attic.
In your name we pray.
Amen.
The tips of the treetops are just beginning to turn that greenish hue as the afternoon just about draws to a close. Moving through Mudtown aboard their fanboat, Dipper, Delilah, and Scraps make their way to the Aroma Falls, descending upon the pulley system once again and seeing a wide expanse of marshland before them. Far in the distance, the Hastings Plaza skyscrapers rise into the sky, disappearing into the hazy clouds above. The tall grass of the marshland starts about 200 feet away from the falls, and there is a massive sign posted out front. Hastings Plaza, shortcut, 10 miles. And below that, a warning sign. A very small notification making the public aware that it is indeed teeth toad season. And with teeth toads, a threat on their own, often comes the presence of the snapdragon, the apex predator of Aromatica. Both of you make a perception check as you bring your fanboat to the marshland's edge.
7.
13.
Delilah, as you pull up towards the grass, you notice that a wide swath of it has a slight bend to it. Make a survival check.
22.
As you gaze into the bent grass, you slowly begin to realize that it's a trail. A trail of someone who clearly doesn't know how to navigate this territory.
Delilah shoves an elbow into Dipper's shoulder.
See that path there, Dipper? I think that's where them boys got lost.
Well, that is the path that only an off-worlder would take. A dumb one at that. I don't know, should we follow it, D?
That's the best idea I heard.
I got a feeling if they went this way, they definitely ended up in the belly of that snapdragon.
Seems like can time to me, Dippy.
Now, D, that ain't a half-bad idea. Dipper leans over off the side, pulls out one of the cans of sonic repellent, shakes it up, puts it into a welded-on holster under the water on the side of the boat, and cranks the top.
Immediately, the sound of a foghorn is muted by sludge. Teeth toads notoriously hate loud noises.
Dipper returns to the back of the fanboat and begins to carefully guide it along the beaten path of the Valdivians.
Dipper, roll a water vehicles check.
13.
This path through the marshland, carved out by the Valdivians, is sloppy to say the least, and traveling along it takes longer than it normally should. A couple of times, you are caught up on some seagrass and have to dislodge yourself, but finally, as you exit the thicker seagrass, you see that some of this tall grass has been bent over completely, as if someone very recklessly blasted through the marshland. A foolish notion, especially because of all the natural obstacles present. Dipper, make another water vehicles check.
22.
This time, you expertly find a groove in the tall grass, moving further and further along. On your side, the can of sonic repellent expires.
D, will you go ahead and swap out that repellent?
Sure thing, Dipper, but we only have one left after that.
I figure once we get the package, we can hightail it on out of here through normal channels. But as long as we're going down this fool's path, we best keep a can going.
Good thinking, Dipper. You always were the brains of the operation.
And Delilah goes over and fetches a can and replaces the old one.
Delilah, as you reach for the sonic repellent, you notice something in the grass as your eyes flick up for a moment. Make a perception check.
7.
You look into the grass and you realize that you are looking at the face of a teeth toad. A teeth toad essentially looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex's head on muscular frog legs. And that's it. This one is baring its horrific teeth.
I don't mean to alarm you, Dipper, but we got company.
Dipper, you whip around to see a 5-foot-tall smile of jagged reptilian teeth. Make a perception check.
Dirty 20.
And you determine that this teeth toad is dead. As you roll over to the other side of the boat, you see the dead teeth toad, and on the tall swamp grass, spattered across it like a painting, is red blood.
That blood ain't come from no teeth toad. Don't Terrans have red blood?
How am I supposed to know?
You punched a Terran before.
Oh, yeah.
Dipper, Delilah, make a nature check.
14.
17.
Dipper, you look around and do not see any remains other than this teeth toad. But you do realize that you are getting awfully close to a well-known snapdragon mating site.
D, I'd bet it all that those off-worlders didn't make it out of this here snapdragon mating ground.
Well, that means that's where the package is. Let me do a quick run around. They'll barely know I was there. Just feel a bit of wind on their snapdragon-y faces.
All right, but you be careful. We're in full mating season. That means that there's probably babies around, and them little fuckers can blow steam just like their mama. You don't want to fuck around with them.
Delilah pops the coffee can and puts a couple ammo in her mouth, as well as the slingshot. She hops into the water quietly.
Below the thick layer of mud, almost 2 feet of scum, the water becomes exceptionally clear at the very bottom.
As soon as her head is underwater, gills stretch out from behind her ears, and Delilah can easily breathe.
Although the water is clear, the light above is completely blocked. Your eyes blink, and you begin to see everything in a kind of grayscale, tinged just a little bit green. You begin to make your way closer to Snapdragon territory. Make a stealth check.
16.
Delilah swims quietly through the water, extremely adeptly, as the webs between her fingers and toes make quick work of the distance ahead of her. Delilah, make a survival check.
21.
As you're looking at the muck on the bottom of this swamp floor, you realize that there are massive imprints in the swamp bed, as if something enormous has stirred a bunch of the gunk up. Exposed roots of seagrass are visible in some places. The snapdragon has been tearing through this location, which means you might be on the right track. As you continue to move further along, make one last perception check.
14.
As you peer around, you realize that you've come out into an open clearing. You look around the perimeters, but are unable to find anything resembling any kind of case. Certainly nothing that Papa Roach would be looking for. This search takes you a moment, especially since you are swimming as quietly as you possibly can. We cut over to Dipper.
Dipper checks a watch embedded onto a metal gauntlet on his left wrist. Come on, D, where are you?
The sky is really beginning to suffuse with green now. Dipper, make a perception check.
17.
In a moment of quiet, you begin to hear the crescendo of an engine flying above you. You see a Valdivian cruiser, thrusters pushing muck to the side with immense force as it turns in the air, seemingly scanning the swamp. It hasn't discovered you yet, but it's headed towards you.
Dipper, using his full arm strength, lifts himself out of his chair and dives over the side into the water, motioning for Scraps to join him.
Roll a stealth check.
9.
You splash below the water loudly. As you do, you suddenly hear, muffled by the 2 feet of sludge above you, the Valdivian cruiser. And it is indeed scanning your boat.
Using his webbed hands, Dipper slowly floats beneath the boat's lead hull and lies as still as possible.
You suddenly feel the hull move away from you. It is getting pulled upward, out of the muck. In an instant, it is pulled free from the swamp, and the Valdivian cruiser, having clamped onto the fan boat with 2 mechanical arms, takes the boat away. There are 2 splashes in the water around you, but in your frantic state, you are unsure where whatever fell out of the boat landed.
Dipper motions for Scraps to fetch whatever fell.
Scraps will make a perception check.
18.
Scraps disappears and then reappears about 3 minutes later, dragging Dipper's wheelchair behind it, the gun still securely fastened to the back of it. Scraps then disappears again and comes back a minute later with Delilah's oar. The Valdivian cruiser appears to have moved on.
Dipper makes his way to the surface with his valuable items and tosses them onto the shore before crawling up into his wheelchair. Good boy, Scraps. How are we gonna get ourselves out of this?
Delilah, underneath the water, you've made the rounds of this snapdragon mating ground. Make one last perception check on your way out.
18.
Delilah, on your way out of this underwater clearing, through hazy, kicked-up muck, you see a square object. Rectangular, now that you're getting a new angle on it. Metallic. Certainly unnatural. And as you peer a little harder, through the muck, you see a blinking red light on the front. You have a good feeling that this is what you are here to find.
Delilah carefully swims up to the case and attempts to grab it.
Roll an athletics check.
14.
You pull as hard as you can, but the case is easily 500 pounds. It does not come free. But when you move it, and it shifts, something else becomes visible underneath the case. Something else metal.
Delilah uses her webbed hands to dig through the mud and get a closer look.
Roll a technology check.
16.
You begin to yank what looks like the top half of some sort of robot out of the muck. Seemingly deactivated, but you see that there is a light blinking inside the chest panel. A light that delineates that reserve power is on standby.
Delilah sends out a whistle, calling for Scraps.
The whistle carries through the water, and after a moment, Scraps finds his way to Delilah.
And Delilah gets a firm grip on the robot and starts back towards where she thinks the boat is.
Delilah, the second Scraps finds his way to you, something truly enormous shifts in the water about 50 yards behind you. Scraps immediately breaks into 4 pieces and goes inert.
And Delilah buries herself under the robot and waits.
Roll a stealth check with advantage.
Nat 20.
Delilah expertly buries herself into the swamp, pulling this robot over her, and goes still. And sure enough, the immense form of the snapdragon approaches. You feel a low rumble as its very breath shakes the water and muck with bass. It is hot as it grows closer. The water grows foggy with steam, literally heating from even being adjacent to the thick reptilian carapace of what looks like a monstrous snapping turtle with malevolent yellow eyes. Delilah, stock still and see a beaked maw, steam bubbling from an open nostril, move adjacent to you. With a perception check of 21, it comes close to finding you, but after sniffing the inorganic form of the robot on top of you, you feel the snapdragon move away and disappear further into the swamp grass. Scraps reassembles and immediately begins to help you pull the robot body and this case back through the muck. Scraps will roll an athletics check with advantage.
18.
Both of you combined are able to slowly move the case back towards Dipper. Delilah, soon you reunite with Dipper, who is sitting on a small little swamp island, Sans boat.
Dipper, where'd the boat go?
You know how Papa Roach said we was looking for Valdivians? Well, they must have sent some sort of cleanup crew, 'cause an airship came down and just flew off with our boat.
Oh, swamp Christ, how are we supposed to get out of here, especially with this big thing I brought? Oh, by the way, I had big success.
Dipper rolls up to the shoreline to check what she's brought.
Delilah hoists the robot up onto shore.
I got this here thing, and also I got a big case. Scraps had to help me carry it so big.
The case is immense. A thick rectangular trunk comprised of titanium and what looks like some kind of complicated computer system with a combination key lock. However, the combination lock and the digital touchpad screen appear to have been completely destroyed. The locks on the side of the case look like they are still intact. Dipper, make a technology check.
Nat 20.
You can tell in an instant, this case is easily openable, and any digital security that would have notified Papa Roach otherwise has been destroyed.
Dipper makes eye contact with Delilah, relaying that news without a word.
Meanwhile, the robot on the ground bears the symbol, at first glance, of Valdivia.
Well, I can definitely get that guy up and running in a sec, but maybe we should just take one little peek first. I know Papa Roach said not to, but I don't know, something in my gut is telling me that there's something in here we gotta see.
Well, you let me do the opening. You don't need any more things blowed off.
Dipper backs up his wheelchair and allows Delilah to step forward.
Delilah kneels down next to the box and opens it.
With a wrench, the top of the case comes open. It is still seemingly vacuum sealed shut. So it opens with a hiss. And Delilah, as you stare down into the case, your face suddenly alights with bright green light. Roll a charisma save.
7.
You see, lying within the case, the answer to all of your problems.
Dipper, you know, I think some part of me was still wondering about my faith until this very moment. But now I know for sure. You better come look at this.
Dipper rolls forward and looks down into the green light himself.
Dipper, make a charisma save.
11.
Dipper, within this case, lies the answer to all of your problems.
Sweet ladder of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Dipper quickly closes the case and glances over to the robot.
Well, we know what we gotta do with that. But what do we do with him?
Dipper rolls over and begins taking a closer look at the circuitry of the robot.
Dipper, this robot is vaguely humanoid in shape, with its arms and legs badly destroyed. This robot has taken a great deal of damage. It has the symbol of Valdivia emblazoned on its chest, and its paint job appears to imply a collared shirt design.
Dipper looks to the back of its head for a control panel.
Roll a technology check.
Nat 20.
You immediately pop open the back control panel of this Valdivian Conflict Resolution Services unit.
Having built and rebuilt 1,000 robots before, Dipper quickly disconnects the tracker on the robot and then goes to reactivate the head.
The wire is cut, the switch is flipped, and you see that this unit's connection to Valdivian services is severed.
All right, well, just a little switch and there we go. Hey there, feller. What's your name?
Searching. Bertrude. Phil. Location services disabled. Where am I?
What is left of CRSU 98455, Conflict Resolution Service Unit, aka CRiS, is a dark space gray plated skull-shaped head with 3 front-facing cameras and an antenna coming out the back. His mouth looks somewhat like a speaker with small lights indicating volume and response. His chest plating resembles plate mail, with the symbol of Valdivia on his chest and a painted collar where a collared shirt would be. His appendages seem to have ripped off violently, leaving dangling wires and bits of metal.
Where am I?
Easy, feller.
Delilah comes and kneels down next to the confused robot.
Why don't you speak soft? Because you're in dangerous territory, but we here, we're your friends. This is Dipper, and I'm Delilah, and we'll take good care of you so long as you keep quiet.
My friends. Phil. Bertrude.
We ain't met nobody named Phil or Bertrude, but,
I don't know how to tell you this, bud, but I'd be willing to bet credits that they didn't make it out of your encounter with the Snapdragon. Delilah here found you deep in the muck, and as you can see by your arms and legs, well, you've been going through it, something awful. And someone who ain't a robot like yourself couldn't have survived such a thing.
Phil was speaking to God before he ran away, was called away.
CRiS attempts to contact Valdivia.
Roll a technology check.
14.
You are unable to. Your connection appears to have been severed.
Friend, there's only one God, and that is our Lord and Savior, Swamp Christ. And I hate to say it, but from what I know of you Valdivian folks, you're about as far from talking to him as possible.
Phil said there is no God except for Valdivia. I am speaking to Valdivia, and there is no response. Conflicting logic. Swamp Christ is God.
he's all confused. He ain't gonna be no help to us like this.
No, that's all right. Yes, Swamp Christ is God. And just 'cause you don't hear him talk back to you doesn't mean he ain't there. That's called having faith, friend. And I think the fact that you're here is proof that he's looking out for you special.
On that, a whirring of an engine is suddenly audible above you. The Valdivian cruiser has returned on another sweep.
Quick! Back below the surface.
Please do not turn me off. Please do not turn me off.
We won't do anything of the sort if you just stay quiet. Dee, grab him.
Delilah puts an arm around the robot
Scraps, get the box.
and goes underwater.
Everybody make a stealth check with advantage.
21.
13.
26.
All of you dip below the surface. Dipper, not quite moving fast enough, gets pulled the last couple of feet into the muck by Delilah, and the cruiser hovers overhead for a moment, scanning the area. And then you hear a heavy splash. The roar of the cruiser's engine fades and is gone. And as you all resurface, your fan boat has been deposited back into the water, upside down, though the diesel motor and the fan are still intact. They have taken all your extra stores of sonic repellent and both of your cell phones.
Are we in danger of death?
Pretty much always, friend.
But as you can see, Swamp CRiS provides. Our boat is returned, and so is our hope.
The false god Valdivia has given me a weapon you could use.
Let's see it, buddy.
Within my back panel is a small pill-like attachment you can remove and use for violence.
You got anything that'll help us flip this boat?
The metallic alligator uncapsizes the boat.
That sounds great and all, but why don't we take a gander at it back at the shop? I don't like being this exposed, and I don't want to be picked up again.
I agree. Scrappy Dappy, get that big air box on this boat and let's toodaloo out of here.
The case is hefted onto the airboat. With a pull, the motor kicks on, the fan begins to rotate, and you move out of the marshland from the path you already came. Delilah, taking the last can of sonic repellent out of her rucksack and utilizing it. It's a smooth trip back. A brilliant green suffuses the sky now as the sun sets below the horizon line, and all of you begin to smell smoke as you make your way back to the Aroma Falls. You emerge from the seagrass and see where there had been a series of shops arranged into a small strip mall in a cove underneath the waterfall is completely surrounded by GCC authorities, as well as the local sheriff's department.
Looks like trouble.
The strip mall is smoking, as if a massive fire has just been doused.
Please pull your boats into the line. Searches are mandatory. Let's go.
Too bad there's no way to make this here case invisible.
I can do that. Just press the case to my skull.
You might just be an angel of the ladder lord.
Scraps pushes the box over towards the robot.
CRiS, using what power he has left, casts a hologram on the case, reflecting light away and making it invisible.
As you end up in line, patiently waiting your turn, coming up alongside of your boat, doing a routine visual inspection, is the local sheriff of Mudtown, a massive caterpillar fella, Sheriff Ted Poopus.
Sheriff Poopus, evening to you.
Delilah tips her hat.
Evening, McGurk. How y'all doing this evening?
We good. We're just, making a routine salvage run into the swamp.
I saw y'all coming out of Tito territory. Any trouble?
You know us, we always got us a couple spare cans of sonic repellent when teeth toad season comes around.
Sure thing, you gotta have a couple extra cans. Well, hey, just gotta do my job and ask. Y'all carrying any contraband this evening?
No, sir. Just some junky old robot we found.
Beep boop.
Roll a deception check with advantage.
19.
All right, McGurks, have a safe trip up the falls. And hey, if you see my son Grubs, would you mind reaching out to me and just giving me a ring?
Yes, sir.
Hey, give our best to Brenda.
And them kids.
Beep boop.
I will. I'll tell him you said hi. Hey, you know what? You guys should come down to a barbecue we're having next week. It's Brenda's mother's 15th chrysalis. We're all very, very excited. We're gonna have a trough of mud punch. It's gonna be a whole hootenanny.
We'll be there.
With bells on.
Boop bells boop.
All right, beep boop to you too. I get a kick out of that thing. Have a good night.
The airboat moves to the water platform and you are raised into the sky. reaching the top of the Aroma Falls, where waiting to greet you on a floating platform, wielding a digital clipboard and wearing pristine GCC uniform, is a woman with large spectacles and a black bob. As your fan boat raises to the waterfall's surface and is deposited in calmer waters, this woman's hover platform moves over to the side of your boat.
Good evening. May I have your names, please?
Dipper and Delilah McGurk. We're local merchants in Mudtown. We're the proprietors of Keeping It Real, fan boat repair and fish and tackle shop. We're your #1 fan boats.
Dipper, this woman is staring at the robot lying in disrepair at the back of the boat.
Where did you pick this up?
Me and Dee's side hustle is picking up old junk from the swamp and turning it into spare parts so that we can fix our fan boats and whatnot. That's actually how we built old Scraps here.
Say hello, Scraps.
Scrap's mouth opens.
Welcome to Keeping It Real. We're your #1 fan boats.
The woman reaches into her belt and takes out a scanner.
As soon as she does, Dipper seamlessly begins to rotate a dial on the underside of his arm gauntlet, causing it to have technical difficulties.
The woman is scanning the entirety of the boat. By the time her scan is just about to reach the invisible case, which would indeed show up on a scan, Dipper turns the dial and the scanning lasers flicker, ineffective. The woman passes over where the case is sitting and then continues to scan the rest of the boat. There is a soft beep on her digital clipboard. Her eyebrows furrow as she looks at it. She's quiet for a moment, looks up at all of you. Everybody make an insight check.
19.
17.
18.
The gears in this woman's head are turning.
Hey, have you heard the good news?
The woman rolls her eyes immediately, hits a few buttons on her hover platform, and it begins to pull away.
Have a pleasant evening.
Well, if you're leaving so quick, blessings of Swamp CRiS be upon you. May you climb his beautiful ladder.
All right. Don't push it too hard. Let's go.
Dipper pulls the fan boat away from the checkpoint.
Everybody roll a perception check.
3.
18.
4.
None of you notice anyone pursue you. After a short ride back to Keeping It Real, Dipper, Delilah, and this broken robot, CRiS, disembark and drag the heavy invisible case inside.
Dipper puts CRiS in his lap and wheels off of the boat and towards his workbench, putting the robot torso directly under a light and ready to be worked on.
When Dipper approaches his toolbox, Delilah goes up to him and leans down.
Dipper, I'd be careful about...
Don't you worry none. I'm just gonna fix the pan, but I'm gonna keep the eggs scrambled.
Happy cooking.
Dipper, what is an angel?
As he talks, Dipper begins to fix CRiS's arms and legs using scrap metal and raw junk from the shop.
Well, buddy, an angel is, well, sort of a messenger from Swamp CRiS. And they descend down the ladder from that glorious top floor and reach out a helping hand to all of us unwashed mortals down below.
Bringing the goodwill of Swamp CRiS to us.
So even in the hardest of times, when Mudtown is down on its luck and our business is failing, we know that, well, there's a ladder-climbing angel just ready to pull us up out of the grind.
Dipper, make a charisma-based religion check with advantage.
Dirty 20.
CRiS, make an insight check.
13.
You see before you 2 people treated well by their chosen deity. 2 people rewarded for their devotion. They serve a god worth serving.
Dipper, Delilah, if my God is a lie, will Swamp CRiS accept me?
Well, of course he will. You know, it really brings out the spirit in me to see somebody just brought along to the family Swamp CRiS.
Delilah, make a constitution saving throw.
3.
What is wrong? Are you sick? Can Swamp CRiS fix you?
I ain't sick. I'm just so happy.
CRiS, make a medicine check.
17.
With your visual scanners, you analyze the substance that seems to have collected in a handkerchief at Delilah's mouth. You recognize the symptoms of the terminal illness, scum lung.
This is false. You are infected.
Keep it down, you!
I wish to help save you as you saved me. I want to be an angel for Swamp Christ.
Dipper drops the tools. Is that true, D? Are you really sick?
Delilah slowly turns to Dipper.
I didn't know how to tell you, Dipper. I know how we could go on without each other, but I don't got much time left. That's why I was doubly sad when I screwed up the whole loan for us so you'd have nothing to carry you through.
Shut up. We got all the time we need. We're gonna make this right. We're gonna fix you. And Dipper's eyes dart over towards the box. And I think I know exactly how. We're gonna fix up this here angel. We're gonna take that box and we're gonna find our own slice of heaven.
Suddenly, headlights illuminate the inside of Keeping It Real. The roar of an approaching engine, but it's high-pitched, more of a whine. Dipper, Delilah, make a wisdom-based water vehicles check.
21.
9.
Dipper, you recognize the engine of a jet ski approaching. Roll a history check.
Dirty 20.
There's only one group that rides jet skis in Mudtown.
Oh shit. It's the Unkillable 8.
Delilah throws her goopy handkerchief to the ground, walks over and picks up her oar.
Guess we'll have to test that.
This has been a Hero Club production, produced by Nick Williams, George Primavera, and Jack Quaid, with associate producers Marty Abby Schneider and Dylan McCollum. Voice acting by George Primavera, Nick Williams, Lelia Symington, Jon Matteson, Gabe Greenspan, Jackie Emerson, and Matthew McCollum. Theme song composed and produced by Matthew McCollum and performed by George Primavera. Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod, Ben Doyle, and Matthew McCollum for their amazing music. Magehand Press for their genius D&D 5th edition homebrew, Marty Abby Schneider for his incredible artwork, and Ali Catanese, our hero. Follow us on Instagram at Hero Club Podcast, on Twitter at Hero Club Pod, on Twitch at twitch.tv/hero_club, and check out our website, heroclubpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and welcome to the club.
That hero from the The fan blades go around, around to take you home. Around, around, the fan blades go around, around to take you home. Around, around, the fan blades go around, around to take you home. Around, around, the fan blades go. He'll make his presence known. Here he comes, he's the hero.
Hold on, let me just get my... it is a crisis of conscience. Jimmy Carter. All right.
Incredible.
It is a crisis.
I love peanuts.
Peanut farmer. I've been the president. I'm going to be the president.
You're incredible.